Hi, everybody. Okay, let's see if we're starting. It has been really an incredible day today. Let's make sure everything's working. Okay, there it goes. Every day is because, you know, there's so many ongoing investigations because we have been filing for years. We've been filing. And so, with those ongoing investigations are absolute reactions and findings. And so, that's why we have breaking news every day. Um, and, we welcome it because, the truth will set you free. The getting to the bottom of all of this collusion in order to target Richard, to destroy him as a witness, as a whistleblower, to silence him, to take his life, then to have to cover up that crime. And the collusion, this is a collusion of 15 plus agencies and institutions. This is probably the biggest collusion to silence a whistleblower and then cover it up. And so, uh, every day, that's why there's so many ongoing investigations in this, because you're talking about more agencies than any other crime that we know of. We don't know of any other case that has this many agencies involved. And we didn't ask for those agencies to be involved. It was General McConville under General Mealy put together with a Lieutenant General Donna Martin a task force find Richard Halliday that had over 15 agencies. And of course, it's been growing. I think the last time I counted is 21. Um, so, and I'm sure it's now more. And because of those many agencies, you have to write each one and fill them in and file complaints that is part of their jurisdiction, part of their oversight. So that's why we have so much breaking news every day. Every day is breaking news. And today is no different from that. And of course, everybody's eye has been taken off of um, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but the attempt is to get everyone's eye off the illegal immigration, off of the criminal trafficking, off of the cover up of the COVID, the cover up of the incompetency of Biden, the mental incompetency of Biden, the off of the collusion and cover up that is in El Paso, failed, the failed government in El Paso, right? They are a failed government. And so, you know, the eye wants to be taken off of the real crimes and put on another event. They create crimes, and this is, of course, an international crime, and this is the attack on Iran. Um, I just don't believe the narrative with it. Of course, I'm not privy to all the intelligence, and so I'm just going to lay out how we feel about what's going on and how that affects our son's case and all the breaking news that we have. So let's begin. Uh, Today is June 13th, 2025, and it is 1,777 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss and his life brutally taken from him. It was brutal, okay? Brutally taken from him. And why was it, and who did it? Why did they do it? Who did it? I can tell you that they did it because he was a witness. He was a whistleblower. He was a willing witness and whistleblower for the ongoing investigations on criminal trafficking and uh, and more along the El Paso, U.S. Mexico border, and it was with the cartel tied officials and military command leadership, absolutely colluding together, and they what was the ongoing investigations? Well, they were the Trump administration. So Richard was the witness for the ongoing, uh, i- illegal immigration, criminal trafficking problem, and all of the corruption that comes with it. Okay, it is just dominoes after dominoes of criminal activity that comes along with the illegal immigration, and I'll talk about that because they absolutely exploit the illegal immigrants, the illegal migrants. They exploit them, and through the exploitation of those individuals, so many crimes are committed. So of course, in the news, what's being spoken, the narrative is that the illegal migrants are the criminals, right? And they've committed a crime because they have come into the country illegally. So that makes it a crime. And many of them were released from prisons and everything. That's already been confirmed, and that they were themselves criminals. And so a lot of criminals were coming and creating and committing another crime by illegally entering our country. And so that has been confirmed, and that's why we had such an increase in criminal activity, really a really bad criminal activity in our country, and also an increase in fraud and impersonation, um, absolutely a huge increase, and that's very, very costly. But they don't talk about the crimes that are committed by exploiting the illegal immigrants. And you saw that Leilani Hart's July 22nd, 2020 confession, her affidavit, that was notarized and turned in. She turned it in, it was accepted. So this was her affidavit confession of major crimes, okay? Major crimes, the worst type of crimes against children that you could think of within her household. That included her son, First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, while he was in uniform. This included him, and that's why this was so uh, well. It connected to our son's case. It was personal to us to read this, and of course, she confesses to her immigration problems. Okay, so she apparently, through her confession, has an illegal immigration problem herself. And so that's why she needs to be arrested. But she also has years and years and years of criminal activity. She's a confirmed convicted criminal, and her record goes back before even Richard was born, over and over and over again. And she has bullied people so bad. I can tell you because we talked to witnesses, and those witnesses, even like a Marine, would shake in his boots, right? Shake in his boots. Um, did not want anything to do with going through this again, right? Shaking their boots. So, you can talk to people and you can see the level of crime, the absolute level of crime that Leilani Hart has committed and what's in her family. And it stemmed really initially from her illegal status in the country. And it was exploited. And she confesses in it that she could not come forward sooner with all of these crimes because she feared her illegal immigration status. Okay. So, and she gets some benefits, y'all. She gets some benefits. So she doesn't want to go back. When you're getting benefits of almost $5,500 a month, and you don't have to pay property taxes, you don't want to go back to your mother country, right? You don't want to go back there. So she admits all of this, and it really demonstrates the problem of the exploitation of illegal immigrants. And it really does give a very strong argument in favor of what Trump is doing, what ICE is doing to move them out. I mean, this administration is giving them like a plane ticket and $1,000. So they're not like uh, uh, they're benevolent. They're pretty benevolent in what they're doing. And I heard today, because of our connections, that many are leaving. Many are leaving. And then but you have those that um maybe would face prison time if they go back. And so the real criminals, they give a little bit of a harder time to go back. And so it really, the exploitation, the added crime, the added fraud, um, I'm tell I can tell you right now, we have hard evidence, even through Raquel Primo, who is absolutely very closely family knit, really family knit, as close as family could be, to Bob Moore of El Paso Matters and Kathleen Gannon of KTEP, who was just defunded because of NPR being defunded, and PBS. So that's very, very good news, because they were abusing their position. They were abusing the gifts that the American people had given them, the paycheck, the funding that we have given them month after month after month. I mean, we're talking about so much money. I mean, so much money they've gotten. And of course, El Paso Matters with a 501c3. Bob Moore and Kathleen Gannon have just been absolute selfish individuals, traitors serving foreign and domestic enemies of the United States of America, abusing their access to the population through the NPR radio, through their KTEP, through the online El Paso Matters. It's not in print. It's all online. So this is, their abuse is really disgusting and disgraceful. They're really disgraceful, and they are very connected to Raquel Primo, who, uh, I don't know if you would call it a common law marriage. I don't know. I don't know. I think it could be as close as a common law marriage to Manuel Chavira's son, Alexander Chavira, who were running Alexander and Raquel. So A&R Chavira Auto Group LLC. And then, after 2020, they changed the name to RA Auto Group. Um, so it is, uh, and that's really important because that is tied to Richard's vehicle. It's tied to Richard's vehicle because the CID told us that Richard's vehicle was impounded and then given back. They didn't give us Richard's vehicle. They gave it to A&R Chavira Auto Group. And so we've had all of that information for a long time, um, and wondering how it all fits into this murder case of our son. And it's, just one step at a time. We have it confirmed that Bob Moore is disgraced. We have it confirmed that Kathleen Gannon is disgraced, and that we have it confirmed um, that the CID was lying to us. That Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe violated so many. I mean, he's just a total traitor. They're just total traitors. We know this now. We know the 15 agencies, because at the beginning, it's stinky, something's wrong, but you're like 15 plus agencies. How are they going to collude together to pull this off, the cover up of of a murder of a whistleblower soldier, right? How are they going to pull this off, and why are they doing it now? Because of Walmart and our extensive investigation into the Walmart mass shooting case, um, and discovering, because it was our team that discovered the Mayela Crucius connection, because we were looking into Dolores Montanez and her connections, and that led to the July 29th, 2020 El Paso Matters article that mentions it briefly, um, this connection with the judicial leader, with Patrick Crucius, his family. And that was really stunning to us because the narrative that was given to the public, to the El Paso community, was that Patrick Crucius just randomly chose El Paso. And that is very, very far from the truth. Very far from the truth. And so, uh, that's a lie. And that is really important to understand how severe that is, because Patrick Crucius that Walmart mass shooting case never had a trial. They were plea deals. The state case was a plea deal, and the federal case was a plea deal. And those plea deals uh, are now really in trouble because they're not, what is the word that I'm trying to, they're not accurate, right? They're not accurate. I'm trying to find the word. But they're based on the need for Patrick Crucius to randomly have picked El Paso for white supremacy, racist reasons, right? The intent it was there. And that was the foundation, or the premise, the presupposition of the plea deal. And we know that that is false. We know that that is absolutely false. We have uh, multiple pieces of evidence, hard evidence, and especially the Mayela Crucius connection that says, okay, this plea deal is broken. This plea deal is a fraud. this plea deal is defective. That's the word I'm looking at. It's defective. It's broken. And the defective plea deal, uh, you know, uh, needs to be reported on, right? People need to report. These plea deals are defective, and it is keeping from us a trial. It's keeping from us a death penalty. Okay, and so you know it's um, and there's so much to this Walmart case, especially, and I can just pick out one little simple topic today to show you that this was an orchestrated bloody crime, that this was a real crime, but it was orchestrated. And this seems to be the going business plan of Bob Moore and El Paso Matters, okay, with the backup of Kathleen Gannon of KTEP, which was funded by you and me, NPR and PBS. So this and he seems to always he seems to be in the habit of orchestrating crimes in order to report on them and profit off of it. So, and also affect cases and politics, because if you can affect the cases, then you can affect the policies, which affects the politics, which affects the federal funding, the state funding, the county funding. And that's what they're all about. They're all about getting the funding, the money. And so this and of course affecting the politics and the policies and the cases to cover up that they were orchestrating their crimes. So the real criminal, and we know that Bob Moore was part of the group, really the center of the group, with Nidal Baem, with Manuel Chavira, with the cartel connections to Arturo Alba, to Willie Moya of Juarez, to the Texas Ranger that was assigned to our case, Gustavo Sanchez. We know that they were connected. We know Teresa Chavira, very, very close relationship, intimate relationship with Nieto, and all the problems in the El Paso Police Department. Um, we have confirmed that. We have hard evidence of all those connections. And with Nidal Baem, did I say Nidal Baem? The connection with Nidal Baem with Bradford Bugado, that is in this group with Bob Moore, who targeted Richard early on with the A&R Chavira LLC, Auto Group LLC, and that there it it connects all of them together, even the likes of all of those individuals, and I don't want to say 100% of them, but a lot of them that were targeting us at the beginning, trying to shut us up, trying to bully us, trying to harass us. Not even trying, that they were harassing, they were threatening us, they were bullying us. We just, have our armor of God on, right? So it connects them, you know, all the names, all the addresses, all the phone numbers. It all connects their businesses, their children, their posts, their media, everything. It connects them. So it connects the military with the officials, even Bill Hicks with this group, of course, with um, Luis Rene Diaz being the manager of the DA's office. I don't, with waivers because he was indicted with Arturo Alba. He's part of the cartel, right? He's part of the cartel. So we have all of this evidence, and you have the Walmart case that absolutely demonstrates that they were creating crimes together, that they had the means, they had the people in the Texas Rangers, they had the people in the El Paso Police Department, they had the people in the DA's office, they had the people like the Mayellas in the federal courthouse, like Judge Guadarrama. They had the people at the magistrate court um, in the courthouse building, in the county clerk's building. They had, of course, Veronica Escobar. They had, of course, the media. They had the media that is really center for all this. They had Kathleen Gannon, and they had the notary. I mean, Raquel Primo. She's a notary. She does apostilles. And so they had the means to do this criminal trafficking, to do contracts, to, I would say, to target um, illegal immigrants, right? To target illegal immigrants, um, and then they create the crimes. They create the international crisis. That's what they're doing. They create the international crisis, and then they try to profit off of it. Okay. And so this is really important to understand, this whole war with Israel and Iran right now that we're being sucked into. This is nothing new for these groups that have people in the military, have the likes of Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and General Milley and General McConville and General Garrett. I mean, those are four-star generals, right? And then you have Donna Martin. That was a biggie because she was a provost marshal, right? She was the IG of the Army. So you have these individuals that are in these positions, and they're absolute traitors. They're absolutely abusing their position to carry out their role in manufacturing a crisis, and then profiting off of it. Okay, an international crisis and profiting off of it. And Richard was a witness to the investigations into the manufacturing of crisis and profiting off of it. Um, and I hope that makes sense. I do. Um, I think that we, especially those that are my age, we've seen a lot of that. Manufacturing crises, big crimes. I mean, they're absolutely crimes, right? And then profiting off of it, manipulating it, extorting from it. Um, anyway, it's a huge business plan, and uh, and and really charging the taxpayers for it, and that's why we're in $37 trillion of debt. Right? That's why. And there's a lot of payoffs. That's why we have the most absurd payoffs that you see, because they have to pay off people for silence, or to groom them to get along and join them. And then you have those like Richard that that have a moral character and a loyalty to God and country. And that sounds, like idealistic, but he absolutely did. And our family absolutely has a loyalty to God and country, to God, country, family. We are absolutely loyal to that. As much as we're, of course, human beings, but we try very, very hard to be as loyal as we can to that. And so then you have Richard coming along, giving everything he could, and there's absolute evidence of that when you are the Distinguished Honor Graduate for your cycle and basic training, and an AIT, and the Guidon Bearer, and 3 promotions very quick with waivers, right? With waivers because of his unbelievable achievements, and 3 AAMs in 14 months, unbelievable achievements, and his, you know, the fastest runner in his unit. Um, so there's plenty of evidence there. His letter to his grandparents, um, that absolutely you saw right into his soul, right? His video saying, "I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow." The anger from this group against him, calling him every name in the book. Why? Because he wouldn't participate in their Vanity Fair. That he not only wouldn't participate in their Vanity Fair, but that he became a whistleblower and a witness to it. And so they had to collude together to manufacture a crisis, for a whistleblower, to target him, to destroy him, and to silence him forever, and then to cover it up because they couldn't have another Guillen situation. They couldn't be exposed for their manufacturing of a very, very brutal murder. So this was, we have the hard evidence for this, and that is why the DOD designated Richard on January 24th, 2025, as being killed in the line of duty, which confirms that his life was taken brutally by, and we have the suspects, our prime suspects are, and there's many of them, but the prime suspect is First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, and his mother, Leilani Hart, and former CID agent Tavita Nusa, who had his badge terminated in 2021. And that's important to know because Leilani Hart, who's a convicted criminal, and Tavita Nusa, who had his badge terminated in 2021, was named in a whistleblower complaint by Judge Roger Rodriguez on January 18th, 2022. And that's very important because that information was withheld from the public, withheld by none other than Bob Moore and Kathleen Gannon. And they knew it. They absolutely knew it. And it was withheld by the PAO of the United States Army. It was withheld by the generals of the U.S. Army. They did not have a public announcement about this very big development in Richard Halliday's case. They didn't, and because they were part of the manufacturing of the hit on Richard. Okay, they were part of it because they used UCMJ along with all of the other collusion, orchestration by others against him. He was being targeted by 15 plus agencies, okay? 15 plus agencies and some civilians. So if you're being targeted by that many agencies in El Paso, you know that there must be a good reason, right? Okay, he's a whistleblower, he's a witness, but what was the investigation going on that he was a witness to, that they had to shut it down? And that was the criminal trafficking and the contracts and the exploitation of the migrants the schemes, the business schemes. So not only the military contracts, not only the criminal trafficking, but the exploitation of the migrants. And you see that with hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss, 10,000 at a time. That camp was so big, it was called the death camp. It was so big, it could sleep 10,000. It had 10,000 beds, 10,000 beds. So 10,000 at a time, hundreds of thousands of children. And now, they've found some, but most of them are feared to be not alive anymore. Okay. And we know through other um, cases, arrests, and everything that tactical move storage units were being used to move all kinds of things trafficked. So you're talking about weapons, you're talking about ammunition, a lot of ammunition, you're talking about human beings, you're talking about substances that kill people too, right? Uh, so this is really, thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much. So this is manufactured crimes and then using the media, and the media helps manufacture the crimes. Okay, that is, they help manufacture the crimes, and then they profit off of it. They pretend to report on it, they put their spin on it, they put their googly, they do their hypnosis for the people so that the people believe a certain story. And one of those stories, of course, they really smeared Richard, and we know that that was a lie. They smeared Judge Rodriguez, and we know that that's a lie. They continued to smear President Trump, and we know that that's a lie, right? We know it because he's president again, because nothing stuck. They didn't have anything, right? They didn't have anything. We know that the uh, uh, the wars, the Gulf Wars, uh, all of their lies of weapons of mass destruction, it didn't stick. It didn't stick, and yet they profited. We know that COVID just didn't go away, right? We know I have very extreme beliefs on the whole COVID, and I'll happily admit that because I was over Juarez 3 dozen times, and I never covered anything. I just hugged people, I kissed people that were crying, so there's tears flowing. I went and used restrooms. I went to some of the um, saddest places, and uh, you know, uh, breathe freely, and I'm here today. And so I just feel like, the reports of no isolation of any little substance, there's never been an isolate. I think that they have a good argument. I think they have a good argument, and I think that the real picture with that whole thing in 2020 and 2021 was the shift of trillions of dollars out of the middle class hands, the small business owners, into wealthy elites' pocketbooks and bank accounts. Trillions of dollars, y'all, trillions. The shift worldwide, it's just so criminal. It's so criminal. And the cover up is also criminal. So, I do have this belief, and that that was also a manufactured crime. And it's just very scary. They really know how to scare people, don't they? They know how to scare people. And I think that right now we're right in the middle of it again. um, and to show you another example before I get into the Israel and the Iran situation, and how that you can just see it, how what they did with Richards. It's always the same playbook. They have the same playbook. Um, and that is with Joe Spencer. So we had and two FBI agents that were trying to do a broadcast talking about they're retired FBI, and they were going to try to do a broadcast talking about how the FBI really goofed up on the Walmart mass shooting. And the thing is that the the file hasn't been released yet, but from the federal case. And so and they are, even though they're retired, they're still representing the FBI. And you can I have as many gripes about the FBI now as any other I have more. I probably have more than any person. But the thing is that we have to be respectful, even if they're unjust, right? Even if they're unjust. It's really um an odd way that God does things, right? Where we and it would be a long theological lesson to say why we always need to be respectful in order to get justice, right? Because um, if we become rebellious, I don't think I think we're going to not get justice. We're going to do our whole movement harm. So we're very respectful to the FBI, even though they have betrayed us. Absolutely. But we are very respectful for them, and we hold the agents that get retirement. They get retirement pay. Uh, and you might say, well, you call the generals treasonous and traitors. Yes, and that's respectful. Let me tell you, because what they've done is so bad, and we have hard evidence that they did it. Okay, but it's not against the army itself. It's against these bad actors that are wearing the uniform, and this is exactly these two FBI retirees. They cannot uh, represent without any access, they don't have access, they have no authority. They're supposed to be the cheerleaders for the FBI, or at least keep quiet and live a peaceful life, because they have no access to the cases. They have no authority to speak for the FBI right now, and to do what they did. And for Mike Cordero to reach out to us, uh, it's really a violation on every front, and I'll really talk about it tomorrow. Um, but it was so many violations. But what it did do was let us go back and look at Joe Spencer and what he did and what it proved. And you know, the timeline for this whole thing with Joe Spencer really proves the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. And I'll tell you why. Because on August 3rd, which was a Saturday, 2019, a terrible thing happened, right? A terrible thing happened. And we saw, and I saw it because I have the unedited version of Alexander Gerhard Hofmann laying there. And he was executed, right? He was executed um, there in the Walmart. Okay. That in itself is a terrible, terrible thing. But what we saw was an unsecured crime scene. Okay. People taking videos, people taking pictures. And we know that Jaime Esparza, the district attorney at the time, did the same. Well, he's not a law enforcement officer. He can't just do that. And he can't just walk a crime scene, because things get added and things go missing. Just like the baby. The baby just kind of ran out, and there was no police escorting to get the name of the baby, to see what happened, who was the person carrying the baby. You know, so they weren't securing the crime scene. They weren't securing the witnesses. They were telling witnesses to go home. And so this was all confirmed by some of these statements, um, this statement that we got today, that the FBI weren't even control and do whatever. And we also have an official testimony that said the crime scene was staged. Okay, that the Walmart mass shooting crime scene was staged. That's not me saying it. That is an official saying it. And so, a lot of things happened. That happened on August 3rd, 2019. And so we already have the suspicion that it was orchestrated. Well, at August 4th, we know that August 3rd, we know that Patrick Crucius surrendered himself twice, right? And he was taken into custody. On August 4th, which is Sunday at 5:42 in the morning, a.m. on a Sunday, when no one's there, no scrutiny, you see, no scrutiny. The application for the appointed counsel, the open checkbook, the taxpayer funds were approved. That was approved at 5:42 a.m. in the morning, Sunday morning. No scrutiny, saying zero income, zero expenditures for Patrick Crucius that had a car, that had traveled, that had expenses, that had purchased a weapon, that had housing expensive for a 21-year-old. No expenses, no income is fraud. It's really fraud. Okay. And he signed it Patsy, and it was approved. And that gave the defense attorney, whoever was appointed, an open checkbook. Well, we have Joe Spencer saying in an audio tape that when he talked to Medrano and Guadarrama, he said he'd only take the case if he got an open checkbook. He didn't want nickels and dimes, okay? He didn't want nickels and dimes. He wanted an open checkbook. He wanted taxpayer funds without scrutiny. That's what he wanted. And that was arranged on August 4th at 5:42 a.m. on a Sunday morning, okay? When did he have this discussion with Medrano and Guadarrama? And why was it with Medrano? Because let me tell you, Medrano wasn't the first judge on the case. He wasn't appointed on the case at the beginning. So why was he talking to him that he demanded the open checkbook? That's a real, like he didn't, who was the other, oh, her name anyway, was a female, and she recused herself later, and then Judge Medrano got on the case. So that is really strange that he said that. And on August 5th, which is a Monday, he went to go visit Patrick Crucius in the jail. Now that's also, so Joe Spencer already was a defense counsel on August 5th. On August 5th. Now, this is a big problem because Patrick Crucius wasn't even indicted yet. That didn't happen until the 8th or 9th of August. So he wasn't even indicted yet. He hadn't been given a competency hearing yet. For mental competency, he did not have that. That needed to be before they even did the open checkbook. Let's see if he's even competent to stand a trial, to stand a hearing. What is his health situation, his mental health situation? That before he even gets the defense lawyer. So this absolutely confirms, and over again, we've been speaking to many different people that are much wiser than we are. And this absolutely confirms an orchestration, a um, a setup, a prior knowledge that this was even going to happen, a prior um, collusion, conspiracy to commit this big crime. Okay, that's what this proves, and there's more to it. There's a lot more to it, but my point is that Bob Moore uh, uh, creates um, crimes, helps create crimes, is in collusion with others that create crimes in order to profit off of it, to report on it. And, so this leads me to my comments on Iran and Israel. Now, I've been to Israel. I'm a big Israel supporter. I love Israel. I don't think Israel should be bombed. I've been to Tel Aviv. Um, I've been all through Israel to Jerusalem with Richard. Richard was with us. It was really amazing. Going to Haifa was really amazing to see the port. Um, to see to see the Sea of Galilee, to see uh, just the Mount of Beatitudes, the Mount of Olives, to you know, there's just so much that we got to see, and uh, we hate for that very historical area to be bombed, right? And we hate for Iran, which is Persia, okay, which is also very historical, very historical. I've never been to Iran. I don't know if my dad was. My dad went to Jordan. My dad was, my dad went everywhere because during the whole Gulf War with Iraq and Saudi Arabia, he was in charge of translators, translators. So, so he had a lot of stories. I really miss him because he just so full of wisdom and experiences. But I haven't been to Iran. I know that Persia is very important, and you just don't bomb it, right? You just don't bomb it, and you sure don't bomb civilians. You just don't bomb civilians. That is just so. They're talking about bombing civilians now, and it's like, really, really. I mean, these are crimes that are being committed. And I think that they are absolutely conspiracy. I think they're orchestrated. Now, this is my opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. And they always twist everything with nuclear bombs and nuclear, you know, um, weapons and everything. Now, I have some history with all this energy and bombs and nuclear and stuff like that because of being a homeschool mom and living in Europe where there are so many nuclear plants there, right? So many nuclear plants, and the energy, the our energy investigation that we decided to do an energy investigation, um, which I can, it's just amazing. Um, and what you discover is that there is so much free energy out there, right? There's so much free energy out there in all kinds of ways, not just solar panels. I don't even like solar panels. Well, they have their place, but there's so much easy free energy out there that we're not being told about. We have to go hunt for it. We have to do an investigation. And one of those amazing energies is uranium, is plutonium, is this free energy that those substances create. They boil water. They absolutely boil water. And those nuclear plants boil water. They're always by a river, and the river flows in. They boil the water. They get the energy, and they power cities with it, a whole city with it. And it's just so cheap, and it's very clean, and what comes off of it is steam, right? And you see that with Fukushima was really, really a big ordeal, and they really wanted to spin it, and they scared the heck out of all of us about it. Chernobyl was another really big one, and they wanted to scare everybody about it. Um, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, they put the bomb on them, and they wanted to scare us, um, and really and did terrible things happen? Yeah, terrible things happen. But what is the scare that it would last for hundreds of years and thousands of years, and all this terrible stuff would happen? And well, if you look up Galen Windsor was a nuclear scientist who ate uranium. He would eat uranium. He would swim in the plutonium pools. You have to read his. Now, I don't know. I'm just telling you what's out there. And he lived to 77 years old. He said it was a big money scam. It was a big fearmonger scam. And, it just is like the same playbook. And, we have years and years, right? What, since World War II, and we're supposed to think that all of these countries are just so restrained that they wouldn't do something really evil. I don't believe that. I think that they're not restrained at all. We have $37 trillion in debt. I don't think they're restrained at all. I think that they would, if they had the power, they would do terrible things. But I don't think they have as much power as they lead us to think that they do. And maybe I'm being foolish, I don't know, but I don't think I am, because it just shows you over and over again that they manufacture major crimes to control us and to exploit us. And they absolutely manufactured a terrible crime that involves the targeting and the taking of life of my son, of our hero. They did that. They targeted over and over again President Trump, and they absolutely orchestrated an attempt on his life twice, right? Twice, three times, maybe three times. Um, and they absolutely um, did this over and over again. They created an international crisis with illegal immigration to exploit them, to exploit the situation, to create contracts, to profit off of it. The whole thing with Afghanistan, with the Gulf War, they absolutely created a fear. They created a crisis, an international crisis, a war to exploit us, and to profit off of it. They did that with the Walmart mass shooting. They absolutely created a terrible, terrible, bloody crisis incident, and they exploited it for years and years with an open checkbook for years and years. And what did we get? A plea deal for, you know, it's just it's so obvious. And so I don't think that this Israel Iran thing is any different. Are there bombs going off? Yes. But the fear mongering and the reasons for it and everything, I think that they're manufacturing it. I think they absolutely are. And I think that we need to be made aware of their devious, deceptive practices so that we're not as exploited. Sometimes they just know how to herd you into all together, and we're just taken advantage of. But to be aware of it, I think, is really, really important. And because I think they're going to try to manipulate us again, politically, or divide us into, who are you for, Iran or Israel or whatever. And um, they're just dividing us instead of saying what is right, and what is wrong, and um, they'll try to manipulate us somehow. They're much um, more in practice of all their deceptive practices than I am. I try to stay away from all of that. So this is something I just wanted everyone to be aware of. And you see that they have control of people, even like these FBI retired agents. It's really, really sad because they don't even know how to have compassion for a Gold Star family, right? They don't, even though they're retired FBI and they're taught, um, to have some kind of compassion for victims and their families. They're so, I think that they're even so twisted by these false narratives and the corruption that is within the agencies that they forget how to um, uh, their duty. They forget their duty and they forget to be compassionate and know what's really right, and that's life. We need to protect life. We need to protect our communities, and that's what FBI agents are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect their communities and victims and their families. That's what their duty is. That's what their taxpayers pay them to do. And instead they're angry. They're very angry when you expose the deficiencies, right? They're very angry, and they are so used to being used in order to be part of the orchestrated targeting, orchestrated um, crime, causing crime, you know, um, that they forget. They forget what they're originally there for. And this communication that we had today really is a good example of that. So, yeah, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow. We're still working through all of the responses to the communication. Um, and we want to get it right, and we want to be respectful. But we also want to report it. We want to report it. It's very, very important because the thing is who's behind it. Well, we know the associate's Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. So now we have this connection with the FBI that are angry um, with Bob Moore, right? And I'm sure, I don't know, Bob Moore, maybe his whole life is angry. I don't know, because he lives um, in the pot, in the bowl, in the center, in the mush of deceptive practices, right? I don't want to get vulgar, but he lives in the um, covered in deceptive practices. That's him, and it's really, you know, um, how can you ever not be angry when you're that destructive of people and communities and the future and everything? I mean, just totally. I don't know how he lives with himself. So that is, and of course, Kathleen Gannon behind him, or beside him, or maybe in front of him. Maybe in front of him. Maybe she's the leader. And then also, their very close family friends, the Chaviras, and all those connected with that criminal group. It's very obvious, and because the hard evidence is right there, and when the hard evidence says it, if it looks like a duck, it acts like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it's the duck, right? It's Bob Moore and his criminal gang, and they targeted Richard, and they silenced him, and then they covered that up too. So that is so where are we going to go from here? That's what people ask. I think you've uncovered it. Um, Well, we're almost there. We're working on it. We're really working on it behind the scenes. And every day there's breaking news. And so we're working with 15 plus agencies, right? 15 plus agencies. And this is international. So we're getting there. And what we've accomplished in less than 5 years is really a miracle, is absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing, and to celebrate because we really do have a lot of answers that they never wanted us to have. And there are 15 plus agencies, and we're just, well, we have God behind us. See, we have God in front of us, we have God beside us, we have God all around us. And that's why I posted Prince William's friend, billionaire friend that died so young because he swallowed a bee. A bee just went right in. You never know. You never know. God can, He gives us breath and He takes breath away. And we're supposed to say, and we do say, praise be to God, right? Glory be to God. So, He's it. He's life. Um, and if He wants to reveal everything, like He has, it's just been amazing what we know now and what that entails as far as the change in our government, the change in El Paso, what that will reveal, and a lot of that has to do with the people because we are a government of the people, by the people, and of the people. Did I say it? By the people, for the people, of the people, and that means, the whole thing of communion, right? God works, but He works in communion with the people and with His people, those that want to stand up for what is right, those that want to share, those that want to pray, those that want to turn in reports that they know, tips that they know, and do the right thing. That's how God works. He wants to be with us. He wants communion with us, and it's very humbling to think about that because He could do it all alone. He could do it all alone, and he chooses not to. And we don't have free will. He has the free will, right? We can't do anything without the grace of God, but He could just do everything on His own. And it's very humbling. So we hope that you join us in sharing, in telling everything that you know, um, to make these amazing changes in our country and to not be afraid. And that's why I had to tell you about Galen Windsor. Look him up. Galen Windsor, the chemist who ate uranium every day. He lived to be 77 years old, I believe, 77. Just amazing. And swam in those plutonium pools. Uh, you know, you know, um, you can see the videos on YouTube. It's still on YouTube. It's buried. You have to kind of find it. Galen Windsor, and be your own judge. I'm just pointing it out. Be your own judge because I think that living in fear is really the worst thing in the world. And if I can just relieve a little bit, or you can even just question your fear just a little bit, I think that that's a benefit because right now what I see in the news is fear mongering about nuclear war, and it's like really, really, we have Mexico as a failed state, and in the grips, in the web of the CCP. And this is what they're bringing up. It's just so ridiculous to us. Um, so that's why I had to share that with you. Okay, everyone. Uh, Thank you so much. I know it's really late, but I had a lot to share with you today, and we're always burning the midnight oil. And I'm going to try to get on earlier, but life happens, and maybe tomorrow morning I can I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be Father's Day weekend, so preparing for that. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I